There are countless retail stores with now hiring plastered all over their windows and on LinkedIn. With all these now hiring signs, have you ever been curious as to why they're constantly hiring? I mean, sure, during peak seasons, they might need an additional set of hands, but it seems like retail stores are always hiring. Why is that? The answer on today's episode of Coffee with Tori. Good morning, and welcome to another episode of Coffee with Tori. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button and leave a comment below introducing yourself. I'd love to say hi to all of my new friends. You know, I was thinking about this the other day as I was scrolling through my LinkedIn and I saw all of these different posts about now hiring here and now hiring there and now hiring and now hiring and now hiring. But you notice, I was thinking to myself, what's with all the now hiring signs in retail? I mean, don't get me wrong, right? Like, I know that retail is constantly hiring people. The restaurant industry is always hiring people. Hospitality, always hiring people. And for some unknown reason, HR has just entered the chat, which I don't get what that's about or why human resources is now hiring as much as they're hiring for. If you have any insight on that, leave a comment below because I'm really curious as to that. Maybe I'll make an episode about that after I do some more research. Stand by. But back to retail. So I was thinking to myself, they're always saying now hiring. And even companies that are like, oh, this is a rare opportunity, which I did see a lot of that within the last several months of like a rare opportunity to come work here, which in my mind, I'm just like, it's not when there are several job postings from a specific company, granted different locations, but from a specific company there's a lot of job postings. So it's not a rare opportunity, maybe in that area, but in general, no. So it got me to thinking, why is that? What is it about retail that they're constantly hiring? So let's explore it. A couple things came to mind when I thought about this question. The first one was the low pay. Now, when it comes to the retail industry, pay. We're going to talk about that in a second. Horrible bosses. Now, I'm not talking about the company as a whole when I say horrible bosses. I mean that the managers or assistant managers or even the district managers are just awful. They're just disgusting people. And the last one is the contradictions within the company. Now, this is where the company has a problem, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's jump into the horrible pay first. All right, let's talk about horrible pay. So I worked at a company this one time, a retail chain. Of course, all of these examples are places I have worked before, so I'm talking from firsthand experience. But leave a comment below if you've experienced this in places that you've worked before, whether it be retail or hospitality or in the travel industry or in restaurants or whatever. Leave a comment below if this has happened to you, right? Okay, so I worked at this one place. And everything seemed all peachy and fine. Everything seemed great at this particular location. There was like a pay thing that happened, which we will get into that on a whole other episode that I'm working on right now about the whole pay thing. But the TLDR is the pay was a lot lower than their expectations. Now, they thought that their expectations matched their pay. Granted, there were some pay things that happened that mess it up. But anyway, there was these expectations of customer service. Right? Now, I'm not saying that customer service shouldn't be a thing in retail. That's kind of what thrives retail, right? It's you're serving customers to help them shop. And then if you help them shop, then they'll buy more and so on and so forth. Like that's just the tale of as old of time when it comes to retail. But here's the thing. They were expecting this like amazing luxury customer service at the rate of respectfully a McDonald's worker. Now, this is no disrespect to those in the fast food industry. Please do not misinterpret this. Like those of you who are in the fast food game, my respect goes out to you because I could never. Oh man, y'all have to deal with so much that I could not even fathom having to deal with like 90% of what y'all have to deal with. But let's just be honest, in the fast food industry, you're looking at an average pay rate between like, I don't know, $15 and $24 an hour. Granted, it's fast food. And so you're potentially standing in one place for a ridiculous amount of time, not super interacting with customers, maybe taking their order, but a lot of it is you're just like bagging things and maybe taking some orders here and there. You might have to prepare the food, there's cleaning and all those different things, right? So I think for what a lot of fast food places, or some, let me correct myself, for some fast food places, the pay of $15 to $24 an hour makes sense for the amount of work that they're doing. Again, that is for some fast food places, not all of them. Some of them do need to be a little bit higher, but we're not going to get into that today. For this job, they had really high expectations. Not only was the customer service supposed to be extremely on point, I'm talking like you need to bend over backwards for the customer. If the customer has a return, that does not matter. You take it back. Doesn't matter condition, tags, no tags, receipt, no receipt, whatever, you take it back. No questions asked, no complaints, no nothing. Don't argue, just yes. If the customer needed something in the fitting room, you are there as a servant for this person. You get them shoes, you get them different sizes, you get them jewelry, you style them. Gosh darn it, if they asked you to come to the fitting room with them to help them try stuff on and you shimmy them into it, you best better believe you are expected to get up in that fitting room with that person and help them shimmy into a dress that may or may not be too small. Customer service was supposed to be the thing. I mean, luxury level customer service, as in personal stylist level of customer service. And then on top of that, there was the expectation of having the same level of care and love for the online customer with the BOPIS orders or with ship from store, which, as we talked about in our last episode, our BOPIS people are the ones who are buy online, pick up in store. They go around, they pick up the items, they put them in the bag or in the box or whatever they need, and they set them aside for you to come get them. The ship from store people, they go around, they find the items, they package it nice and beautifully, and they ship it to your home. So those same people who are in the fitting room and they're supposed to provide this amazing customer service are the same ones who are supposed to also provide that same level of love and care for the online customer, taking the time to write personalized letters and notes and signing their name on the package. And even, hey, if you have the time, go ahead and do a cute little doodle, like a heart or a smiley face or something, just to make the online customer feel that level of love and compassion and care that the in-store customer has. And then on top of all of that, the cleanliness of the store was yet another priority, making sure the floors are mopped and dusted and swept. Everything is sized, placed in order for the guest or the customer or whoever, the client, to come shop. All of these things, all of these expectations for $13 an hour. Let me ask you a question. If you had to do all that, if you had to work for 6 hours with no break, bouncing between taking care of the fitting room, between servicing the people online, checking people out, and cleaning the store, would you do all of that for $13? Yeah, I wouldn't either. Low pay, really high expectations. One of the major reasons why we are constantly seeing now hiring. Now, here's the thing about these hiring posts. If you notice, they really paint this picture. They paint this beautiful picture of how this is such a great place to work, right? And that you're going to have this wonderful experience. You're going to have fun. You're going to meet new people. You get to interact. It's great growth opportunity to grow with the company, to learn more, career opportunities, all those different things. And they paint this beautiful picture of what you're getting into. And then you get in it and you realize, oh no, this has nothing to do with the pay. The amount of work you expect from me and how much you're paying me does not compute at all. Now, here's the thing. I think first jobs are a little different of a story. You know, high school kids who aren't really doing anything, who just want to make a little extra cash because why not? Or college kids who don't really need money and they're just like, here's some spending money. Okay, fine. For like those lower paying jobs, that's fine. But the expectations of that should match, right? So if you're going to have that level of an expectation, $13 an hour is so not it. I'm talking this level of expectations of like the quality of customer service, the quality of the online customer, the quality of the store. Those things, oh, those need to be at bare minimum $18 an hour. At the minimum. Like for that level of engagement, because interacting with customers is tiring, sure. Interacting with anybody is tiring. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. If you're in an office space and you're talking to the people next to you, that can be exhausting. If you're interacting with clients in the future that you're trying to like land a contract, that's exhausting. Customers, exhausting. Interacting with people can be very tiring. Even what I do can be very tiring. But that level of customer service, like luxury high-end level of customer service, there is a limit to how much a person can handle, and the pay needs to match that. Point blank into conversation. So a lot of the issues with retail and why they are the worst jobs, or why even we're constantly seeing this hiring, is because the pay does not match what the expectations are. And then people get into it and they're like, oh, no, because I could do half this work for double the money. Legit, I had someone that I used to work with once. And like we were talking about pay, because why not? And one of the things that she had mentioned to me was that, you know, in the food industry, for how much she was making in this particular role, she was like an upper level management-ish. And she was doing a lot. Now, the managers of this particular store were doing the work of all of the associates, if not double, because whatever the associates didn't get done, managers obviously had to pick it up, right? And so she was doing the work of her job as well as the job of the associates underneath her, who were either new or they were just lazy or whatever. And we were talking about this, and one day, one of the things she had said to me was like, this isn't even worth it, because for how much I'm getting paid, I could go somewhere else with my experience. I could go somewhere else, make the exact same amount of money, and have half of the work and half of the expectations that I have here. Now, granted, naturally, I asked the question of like, oh, Miss Ma'am, why are you still here? Pack your bags and go. I'm heading out with you. Like, I don't know why we're still here, but okay. But the truth is, you know, we'll get into like why people stay in horrible places in another episode. But that's the reality of it, that when you get into these jobs, like you realize like how much they're paying you absolutely doesn't match the amount of work they're making you do or they expect you to do. And so anyone with half of a brain would be like, absolutely not. I'm not doing this. I know I bring more to the table than this. I know I'm capable of helping your business grow. I know that I'm a great employee and I really want to put forth my effort, but you're not getting this effort for free. Sorry. So, but that's just my own personal opinion on the matter. Drop a comment below and let me know what you think. Is this something you've seen in your job or something you've seen in other industries that like the pay doesn't match the expectations and that's the reason why they're constantly hiring in that field? Let me know below. But before we sign off, let's talk about the next group. Whew, Lord, these bosses. It is said that people don't quit their jobs because of their jobs. And some people might even argue that they don't leave because of the pay. But one thing that is unanimous across all industries, across all social media, conversations, forums, discussions, whatever, is that people leave because of horrible bosses. Now, raise your hand, drop a comment below, like the video, if you have had a horrible boss at some point in your life. I mean, it's bound to happen. It's bound to happen. Some of us are more blessed than others, where the horrible boss never turned that energy directly to us, but we watched said boss turn that energy towards those around us. Some of us were a little bit less fortunate and had the boss actually turn that negative energy towards us and was like, ew, no. I can tell you about this time. I worked at this one company and it was the district manager actually. Now, granted, my bosses were great. Like my immediate managers were fabulous. I loved working for them. They had such realistic expectations. They were very kind, very compassionate. Like they set the standard of what they wanted in their stores, of course, and they had expectations for us. But like every expectation they set, every goal they set was designed to help the business, their store get better, but also to develop us. Like I had mentioned that, oh, one day maybe I'd like to be like a regional visual or whatever. And so she was like, my manager at the time was like, oh yeah, absolutely. Like, let's start developing you to get you to the point where you could do that. which was great. And so I got to work with her. She was so respectful, but she was firm. And she was very stern about like what the expectations were, which I appreciated and I respected. But the one above her, the district manager, oh man, I have never witnessed something so utterly disgusting in all of the years I've worked in retail. This particular district manager had an interesting habit of swearing at various management personnel and berating people in front of associates, in front of customers. This particular manager was really good about making people cry when this person was there. Like, I remember there was one day that it was, oh my gosh, it was my second day. My second day at this job. So I came in on my first day to sign all the paperwork to all the HR staff, the boring staff. And immediately after, I was on the floor with the managers and we were looking at everything, trying to get an idea, the feel for the store, what they wanted me to do, all those different things. And one of the things that one of the managers had said to me was like, hey, our district manager's coming tomorrow. Just so you know. And when they said that, their tone and their everything changed. Like they were kind of somber, a little scared, a little stressed. And I remember thinking like, okay, I've had district managers come and visit many a times throughout my career. Like, I don't know what the problem is, but okay. And so the next day I come in and both of my managers were like there and they're waiting and they're like, okay, like the district will be here soon. And I was like, okay, cool, no problem. Like, let me know what you need. Like, what do you want me to do? So I was working on a project until the district arrived. And so when they came, we walked the store together. Now, this is before opening, thankfully. So we're walking the store and we're looking at different things. And maybe, I don't know, 5-10 minutes into this walk, the district starts to yell at the assistant manager. Not my store manager, the assistant. And he is just yelling at this poor assistant, just screaming at her. And talking about how horrible of a job she's doing, how she doesn't deserve this title, how she should be ashamed of herself, all of these different things. Now, a little bit of context so you understand where we're at here. This particular store, to say they were short-staffed would be an understatement. They were barely holding on by like a thread. Like 80% of the staff had left. The store is quite large, and so they really are truly running on like fumes at this point. And the assistant and the store manager have been working about near every day straight, almost open to close every single day. So we're running on nothing at this point. And so instead of acknowledging the fact that, you know, at least the store is still afloat, it's still somewhat profitable. Yeah, they're short-staffed. Yeah, it's not perfect, but at least the store is still making money a little bit. No, not where they want it, but at least the store is still somewhat profitable. Instead of acknowledging any of that, it was, you're doing a horrible job. You're awful at this. You don't deserve this. You should be ashamed. All of these horrible things. He started swearing at her, calling her names, just utterly disrespectful to the point that it brought her to tears. And I have never, ever in my life seen a district manager like break somebody down to the point of tears, especially in front of a new hire, myself at that moment. And the thing is, though, this district manager like acknowledged that he was being ridiculous. Like, he had said to me, like, a lot of people say that I am, you know, a jerk, but he didn't use that word. They will say like I'm a jerk, but that's not true. And then 5 seconds later, he is screaming at my assistant manager and making her cry. So she takes a moment, and as we continue the walk, then he turns his energy towards the store manager and continues the screaming and berating and swearing and getting very angry and just so much hostility radiating from one person. And so after the visit had ended, I knew in that moment, what is wrong with my managers and why are they still here? Because I witnessed that and was like, absolutely not. Now, granted, I was blessed that he didn't turn any of that energy towards me. And every time he tried, I made myself disappear because I was like, we're not playing that game. But the fact that the people who he did do that to, a lot of them stayed unless they got fired. And every time this district came for a visit after that, everybody was afraid they were going to get fired. Every single visit. It didn't matter if it was just a quick pop in to say hi, if it was like a true visit where he was going to look around and critique and like coach and whatever. No matter what the reason was, if he was in the building, every single manager was terrified that they were going to be fired that day. That is the true definition of a horrible boss, and one of the major reasons why retail stores are constantly hiring. When the manager or the assistant manager or even the district managers are that disgusting and that horrible to the associates and to the team, it's no wonder that people are dropping like flies. Of course they are. At this point in our lives, like especially those of us who are millennials, and Gen Z gets this too, and I am so glad that Gen Xers are coming to the light, that you are so much better than that. It doesn't matter who you are. Nobody deserves to be spoken to in such a disrespectful tone. No one deserves to be sworn at every 5 seconds for making a mistake or just maybe not doing the best of their job. Now, granted, I'm not saying you have to be lazy. No. Like, you have a job that you're getting paid to do. Absolutely do it. But even if you aren't doing the best that you could do, that doesn't warrant somebody to cuss you out from A to Z. That doesn't mean that somebody has the right to berate you in front of colleagues or in front of customers. And that certainly doesn't mean that somebody has the right to degrade you to the point of tears just because you may or may not have met their expectations, given the challenges you're faced with. And so that was one of the things that I had definitely learned or I had remembered, if you will, when I was thinking about this episode of like, why is it that retail jobs are just constantly hiring? I mean, it doesn't matter where you go. You can just throw a pebble and hit a store, and I guarantee you they're hiring. And one of those main reasons is because of awful bosses, like the one that I used to work for. All right, so the last category that I want to talk about, as far as like why retail jobs are constantly hiring, is the contradictions within the company. Now, this is something that more like my managers are going to see. Those of you guys who are in like middle management in these retail companies, like you guys are the ones who are definitely going to see this a little bit more than the associates will, but it's the contradictions. I remember there was a store that I worked at, and they were very much like, we have a policy, like a return policy. Now, I'm sure you guys have experienced this, whether you go shopping or if you work in retail yourself, but there is usually like a return policy of some sort that the company wants you to follow. And this particular store has a return policy that was like, you have to return, you can return the item within 30 days, tags attached with the original receipt, not worn, blah, blah, blah. And we were told to enforce that policy. Don't do that. Do not let them walk all over you. This is the policy, adhere to it, enforce it. If they are outside of that policy, then you can give them store credit or don't take it at all. Okay, that's fine. So we did that, but there was a secret to this policy that nobody knew about until there was a complaint. And once a complaint had been made, then all of a sudden it was, you can just take the item back, just make the customer happy after like 3 times. So what that looks like is, let's say you come into this particular store, you have a pair of jeans, you wore them once and they like ripped, right? You took the tags off because you didn't think you would return them. You really like the jeans, but you return them because there's like a rip in them or whatever. And you don't have the original tags. Granted, you gave your phone number and your email, so the customer people are able, like the customer service people are able to look up your purchase in like your purchase history. And so they find the purchase, and we see that your jeans, well, we can return it because they're defective, and that's on us, but it is 35 days after the allowed time. And so the best that they can do is offer you store credit. And they tell you this, no, it has to be store credit. It's outside of the 30 days. You get upset, and they say it again, I'm sorry now. It has to be store credit. A little bit more upset. And then they say it again. Sorry now. On the third time, you're like, I want to talk to corporate. This isn't fair. I wore them once. I know it's literally just 5 days. Like, come on. And at that point, as you are visibly frustrated, you are angry, it doesn't make any sense. Like, it's not your fault that they ripped. Like, literally, you just wore them one time, but now you're super angry. It's at that point that the customer service person says, okay, I'll go ahead and take them back. What? Make it make sense. That makes no sense. So you have this company, and then you get your money back. Everything is fine. You go about your business. The person who took it back, the person who went ahead and approved the return, even though it was outside of the return period and outside of the policy, they get a phone call from their district manager, and their district is like, excuse me, why did you approve this return? And you tell the district the situation, you explain what happened, and the district responds by saying, okay, but like that's outside of the policy. Make it make sense. Contradictions within the company is the enemy of every frontline person. It is the thing that will kill your entire frontline team in retail, is when the company makes policies and procedures and expectations, and they have all of these rules. And then when you break the rules for the sake of the customer, you're the one who gets in trouble. And so then it makes it so that way the people who are working in that industry, they don't want to break the rules. They don't want to get fired. They don't want to get their pay cut. They don't want to have repercussions because they broke the rules. But then the customer suffers because the customer doesn't understand why these rules exist and why you can't just bend it for them. After all, they are the customer, right? And so this like constant like tug of war between company expectations, what the customer's expectations are, and what the frontline person can and cannot do is something that is just mentally and physically and emotionally exhausting for those who are working in these fields. And it's something that not a lot of people talk about because they're like, well, this company has such a great return policy and this company has a good return policy, and why can't they just take the lead of? Because every company is different. There is not a standard way of doing returns or making a policy or anything. Everything is at the discretion and at the grace of whatever company that person is working for. And they have to follow those rules or else they get in trouble. And then when they do follow the rules, they still get in trouble. It doesn't make any sense. I know I'm not crazy. I know you're not crazy. Leave a comment below and tell me if this makes sense to you. Does it make sense? When you follow the rules, you get in trouble. When you don't follow the rules, you'll get in trouble. Make it make sense. The contradictions within company expectations are, to say infuriating would be an understatement. But that's just my personal opinion on the matter. Leave me a comment below. What do you think? Do you feel the same way? Do you see that in your jobs? Have you seen this in the retail industry? Is this like a normal thing? Like, is it just the jobs I've worked? Because I have worked some pretty wild jobs. Let me tell you, I've worked some pretty crazy places. So that wraps up today's episode of Coffee with Tori. Leave me a comment below and let me know what you thought of today's episode. If you guys are liking discussions like this, or if you want me to try to something else. I know a lot of the past episodes have been very retail focused because that is what I so graciously escaped from. But, I'd love to talk about other industries. I hear the food industry is a little bit wild and crazy, and so is hospitality and traveling and HR. Like I said, I don't know what's going on over there. But leave me a comment below if there's any other industries you want to add to the discussion. We can do a little deep dive in and see what's going on over there, how to make it better, or if there's anything that does need to be better. Who knows? Anyways, if you are new here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, leave me a comment below, and I will see you in the next episode. Have a good one.